morning. It is 7:03 on a Friday morning, on a little early, just to send the notifications that I'm out, that I'm on live right now. I hope everybody's staying safe. If you're in the path of the storms, I pray that you and your family and your loved ones are safe, taken care of, that there's no hurt or harm come to you or your family or your property or anything like that. And just sending out prayers to those who have been impacted by it. Anticipate that it's going to be another week. This weekend is supposed to be full of storms. So just asking everybody to be safe out there. If you need help, please reach out to your local church, American Red Cross. And if you're interested in supporting someone or helping with the recovery efforts, please don't hesitate to reach out to the American Red Cross or another agency or entity in your neighborhood or your area that you know is going to make sure that that food gets, or those needs get to those people. Unfortunately, it's sad we live in a time where there are so many scammers that take advantage of situations like this. But this platform is a safe platform. So if you know that you need help, please reach out to me and I'll connect you to resources in your neighborhood. Have a wonderful set of followers. And so we'll just make sure that whatever you need, it's just prayers and well wishes, are going to be taken care of. So just wanted to put that out there. Otherwise, how's everybody else doing? Oh, good morning, Miss Anita. Make sure you jump on and always say hi to Miss Anita, one of my favorite people ever. Today's topic is really relevant, especially given the circumstances we are in today. The name of the topic is It's Okay Not to Be Okay. We live in a society now that, whenever someone is struggling or there's a situation that you're not familiar with, we're quick to label that. And one of the things we're going to talk about is normalizing certain things. But today we definitely want to talk about it's okay not to be okay. So it's okay not to be okay is a phrase that emphasizes the importance of acknowledging and accepting difficult emotions rather than suppressing them, and recognizing that struggling is a normal part of life. It encourages self-compassion and understanding, reminding individuals that it's okay not to always feel okay. It is true that the sun is going to come out tomorrow, but there's always a period of darkness. And we live in a society and a culture today that darkness is often seen as weakness. If you cry, or if you are having a struggle, or you just don't have enough faith, or you don't have the right attitude, none of that is necessarily true. You can struggle and still have faith. You can be optimistic and have oh my God, sorry, and still have struggling times. So definitely want to make sure that we understand that it's okay not to be okay. Okay. So there are 4 key things that not being okay does. That when we acknowledge that it's not to be okay, when we acknowledge that it's fine to feel what we feel and not suppress them, we does 4 things. Number 1, it acknowledges and validates feelings. It's okay to feel sad, angry, anxious, or any difficult emotion. Suppressing or ignoring these feelings can be harmful in the long run. So when we suppress our emotions, I always like to say, when we suppress emotions or we act like we're in constant denial, what we do is like it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And we're pushing down on those emotions, but they're going to ooze out. So you may really think, okay, I'm suppressing these emotions. I'm not really having, I'm dealing with it in silence. But what you're really doing is that it's going to show up somewhere else. So whether that's, if you may feel like you're calm and cool, but you're going to take it out on your coworkers or your husband or your job, or you're like me, you're an emotional eater. You're just stuffing your feelings with food. So one of the things that we have to do when we say it's not okay is to validate that feeling. Feel it. Don't stuff it. Don't use food, sex, money, clothes, cars, relationships. Feel it in that moment. Because when we have that acceptance of emotions, it emphasizes a wide range of emotions, including those negative ones like sadness, anxiety, frustration is a natural part of being human. Oftentimes when we're so quick to say, oh, well, you shouldn't feel something, or we tell boys they shouldn't cry, We're denying that part of us that's human. It is very human to cry when we feel pain. It's very human to feel frustration when we feel like obstacles are against us. That's a very human process. But not acknowledging those feelings make it worse. Number two, the key thing that not being okay does is it reduces the stigma. This phrase, in reducing stigma, is associated with mental health issues. It suggests that struggling with mental health issues does not equate weakness or failure. Listen, I deal with anxiety. I'm not afraid. I've talked about that many times. And when I try to do before it, not validate that I have anxiety, all I did was make it worse. Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. All I did was make it worse. By denying and not accepting that I had anxiety just made my anxiety worse. It made me feel like I was a failure because I couldn't control my emotions, or there were certain things that bothered me, or there were things that triggered my anxiety. And then I began to become ashamed and embarrassed of it. But when we can acknowledge that it's okay not to be okay, we can reduce the stigma behind mental health. We reduce the stigma of saying young boys or young men or men period shouldn't cry. We remove those stigmas that society has placed on us, because in the end of the day, they're stigmas. They're things that people put on us because they feel like that's what we should do. Not being okay reduces that stigma that says mental health equates some kind of failure or not getting married. Like, we need to remove the stigma. You should be married by your 30. That's not a stigma. That's somebody else's issue. Remove that. It's perfectly normal to be 30 and not married and having kids. Let's normalize that. Number 3, self-compassion. Be kind and gentle to yourself, especially when you're struggling. Don't judge yourself so harshly for not feeling okay. The importance of dealing with self-care and giving yourself permission to take time that you need to heal or deal with life challenges. I'm tremendously hard on myself, but I am so compassionate and understanding with other people. It's a challenge for me, a growth area, to constantly give myself that level of compassion that I give to other people. When we are able to identify that it's okay not to be okay, we can give ourselves self-compassion. We can give that compassion to other people. Listen, sometimes things ain't about you. You go to a job and or you go get you something to eat and the person in the drive-through is not as nice. And you're like, well, I didn't tell you had to work here, but you don't know if that person woke up and they didn't have electricity this morning. You don't know if the person had found out that someone that they love died and they still had to come to work. Just by practicing compassion with yourself and others allows us to say, it's okay for this person to have a bad day. It's okay for someone to be struggling in this area. Because you never know what other people are going through. So when we practice self-compassion, when we give ourselves that compassion to be able to say it's not okay, we're able to offer that to other people. Because again, you can't give what you don't have. And if you're not compassionate with yourself, it's going to be very difficult for you to continue to be compassionate with each other. If you're mean and rude and talk negative to yourself, that's what you're going to present to the world. And number 4, normalizing struggle. Recognizing that everyone's experiences during difficult times, and it's okay not to be okay when you're struggling, because it's a normal part of the human experience. And it's important at that time to recognize that struggle has potential benefits, but it also has potential drawbacks. Now, I'll tell you where this comes from. I love my tribe of sisters. They're amazing. We were talking about how it is important to normalize certain things. Like, if someone doesn't, if there's a young woman out there and she's 26 and she's not married, no kids, instead of asking her, well, why ain't you found a husband? You're not good enough to find a man. Why can't we just normalize that that's a part of the process? People don't get married till they're ready. Why can't we normalize that everybody has their own unique path and normalize that it's okay? Because a lot of times when we don't want to normalize things, we're projecting ourselves into it. We want to get married by the time we're 26. So when we see someone who's not married by the time we're 26, we're like, oh, why aren't you? That's not about them. Look inward. Is this an issue for me? So the potential benefits of normalizing a struggle is you break down those taboos and stigmas. Having things being normal reduces that stigma and discrimination associated with certain areas or certain issues or behaviors. It promotes acceptance and understanding. When we normalize things, when we normalize that relationships have struggles, when we normalize that young men and boys have the right to cry, when we normalize that the struggle is, when we normalize those things, we promote and offer an air of acceptance and understanding. Not everybody's going to live the life I live. Not everybody's going to go through the struggles I go through. Not everybody's going to have the same experiences that I have, and that's okay. Normalizing that allows us to have acceptance for others' struggles, others' opportunities, others' challenges. Hello and happy Friday, Renee. Hope you're feeling better. Everybody just jump in and say hi to Renee. Make sure you send some love. And another potential benefit of normalizing experiences is it makes sense of the experiences. When we normalize experiences, it can help you make sense of that experiences, especially in past events or difficult situations. And so when we're able to normalize and say that there's a trauma in my life, when we normalize and say people have struggles, it can begin to make sense. Me and my anxiety. When I'm able to normalize that anxiety is part of a normal experience in life, that does not mean that something's wrong with me. It allows me to look back on my experiences and say, this is when my anxiety showed up. This is when my depression and other things were taking a hold. It helps me make sense of the experiences because that's what I was dealing with. When we don't normalize those things, we just keep saying, oh, I'm an anomaly, or we feel like this is only happening to me. But when we normalize and begin to realize it's okay not to be okay, we can make sense of those experiences. Now, normalizing experiences is a perfect thing. We want to normalize it, but normalizing things has its drawbacks. One of the major drawbacks to normalizing things, it can lower the standards. Normalizing certain experiences can lead to a tolerance of behavior or situations that should not be accepted, like violence. It's never okay. It's not okay to use violence as a way to cope for a mechanism. It's not okay. We cannot normalize you beating a man or a woman as a normal experience. Oh, it's okay. It's a normal experience to, when I'm frustrated, to have violence on somebody else. No, that's not normal. That's not normal. So when sometimes we try to normalize, and it's crazy. I'm thinking of a situation right now where we normalize staying in toxic relationships with our family members. That we say that's normal. That's not normal. It's not normal. Blood does not equal peace. Just because you have a relationship with someone by blood, that does not make it normal for you to stay in something that's toxic because that's family. That's something we've been taught. That's something that we've said. But if a relationship is toxic, and it doesn't matter, we should not be normalizing that. Well, that's just part of being family. No. That lowers the standard. That says that just because you're related to me, that means you can treat me any kind of way. You can talk to me any kind of way. No. And another way that normalizing behaviors can be a barrier is if it's a harmful behavior. If harmful behaviors are normalized, it can lead to their continual preparation. I can't say the word. It can lead to someone continuously using and abusing that situation and saying it's normal. It's normal for a man to come home, give his whole check to a woman, and she goes out and uses all the money because that's a man's the head of the household and a woman has the right to spend all the money. That's not normal. That's dysfunctional. You can say it all day. This is a normal situation, and then you allow for that abuse to continue. Recognizing that harmful behaviors is not normal. And like I said, we're quick in society today, particularly, like, it's not normal to jump in somebody's their comment section and make comments about stuff that you know nothing about. That irritates the crap out of me. When people, I like watching these cooking shows, and people will jump in and talk about how the person's kitchen looks, or they'll talk about that there's a dog in the kitchen. So I may not want a dog in my kitchen while I'm cooking or whatever, but I'm not there to judge that person's kitchen. I'm there to get that recipe. I'm not going to eat what they cook, but it's become a very normal thing to be bullies and keyboard gangsters, and we'll normalize that. But we won't normalize someone saying I'm having a difficult time. We won't normalize the ability to have difficult emotions. And the last barrier to saying things are normalized is the abuse of the term. The term normalized is oftentimes overused and misused, and it diminishes its original intent. Again, the original intent to normalize things is to be able to say that this behavior, someone not getting married at 26 should be normalized. Someone not wanting to have kids is a normal situation. Not someone getting on the keyboard and talking crazy to people, not someone who's abusive. Those things aren't normal. So we have to be careful when we want to normalize behaviors or normalize something that we're not misusing the term. So another way so we talked about the barriers to normalize it, but and the pros and the cons to normalizing things. Another thing not being okay does is it encourages vulnerability. When we say it's okay not to be okay, we encourage people to be open and honest about their feelings rather than being pressured to always appear happy and having it together. Again, one of the things I love about my tribe, I love about Renee and my close circle of friends is I can be vulnerable with them. Being able to say that you're not okay allows you to be vulnerable and not feel exploited. There's nothing more precious, nothing more meaningful to the soul to be vulnerable with someone and feel like they understand you and they get you. And then they tell you in that moment, when you say, I feel like I'm falling apart, and someone says, and that's okay. You may feel like you're falling apart, but that's part of the process, that's part of the journey. So when we allow ourselves to say it's not okay to be okay, we encourage that level of vulnerability. And I feel like that's one of the really big things that's missing in society today. We see people, we see the pictures, we see them smiling, we see them all put together, but we don't know what it took for them to get there. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and allow people to see the struggle that we have a greater appreciation of that struggle, and we have a greater appreciation of the results. Number 6, one of the things that not being okay does is it makes us seek support. When we seek support, we reach out to family, friends, professionals, and when we're struggling. And it's a reminder that everyone goes through tough times and that seeking support, whether from family, friends, professionals, is a healthy and positive step. I've had to repeat this a lot, and I hope it's becoming more and more normal, that people say, well, if you just pray. Listen, the Jesus I serve is not intimidated by a therapist or a life coach or a health coach. You can have Jesus, therapy, and appeal. I think he's good with that. So when we seek support, we're acknowledging that sometimes we can't carry that burden by ourselves. While it is true that we all have burdens that we have to carry, does not mean that we often have to carry them alone. You may have to carry the burden, but you can have a supportive team around you that's encouraging you, that's reminding you, that's giving you that strength that you can carry that burden, that you are not alone in these situations. When I tell you one of the best things that's come out of being a health life coach is talking to people and the light going off and going, I thought I was by myself. Like, no, you're never by yourself. You are not the only one that's going through that situation. But when we don't seek support, when we don't acknowledge that it's not okay to be okay, that it's okay not to be okay, then we isolate ourselves and we don't seek that support, again, from professionals, friends, or anyone. So it's important that when we're not okay, seek support. And number 7, allowing ourselves to say that we're not okay gives us an opportunity to focus on healing and growth. While it's okay not to be okay, it's also important to move forward toward healing and personal growth. You allow yourself to feel, process, and move forward. Because when we allow ourselves to say, I'm not okay, but I may not be okay today, but that allows us for the opportunity to move forward and be whole in the next phase. Because it's a reminder that it's okay not to always be perfect or in a constant state of happiness. Because at the end, you are human. Jump in the chat and let me know what you think about it's okay not to be okay. What are your thoughts on normalizing certain behaviors, the barriers, and the pros of the pros of normalizing behaviors and the cons of normalizing certain behaviors? Do you feel okay to say you're not okay? Do you feel as if you have a sacred space of people who love you where you can call them, good morning, Miss Lisa, Crazy Mom Creations. Y'all know how I feel about her every week. I ain't got to say it. Y'all know I love her. Do you have that community of people around you that you can say, I'm not okay? Can you say that to yourself? Can you look in the mirror and say, I'm not okay today? Fostering that self-compassion for yourself, being able to normalize that you don't have to wake up every day. Every day we're not going to wake up and turn cartwheels and feel the best selves. By saying we're not okay, we allow ourselves to have compassion. We allows us to have encourage that vulnerability. We can seek that support so that we can move forward with our healing and our growth. It's time for me to give my 2 love notes. My first love note goes to Stylish Beauty Collection. She's a fellow content creator. She's very positive, always has an engaging post. And again, if you're a small business or a content creator, please leave your link, your information there so we can follow you. It doesn't cost anything to like and share someone's post. And then the second love note goes to Gay Cantrell Harden. She's a South Nashville homegirl. She always has a kind word. She always says good morning to me. She's just so supportive of all my platforms. And so, Gay, I want to give you a love note as well. And as we come to the end, I'm going to read today from, again, one of my favorite authors, Morgan Richard Oliver. This is her latest book, The Freedom of Ford. And it's a very simple poem today. I'm not mad at you. I'm grateful for you. Grateful for the good times that made me smile and the bad times that made me wiser. The Freedom Ford. And I want to thank you for joining me today. I got to give a shout out to Custom Made Bodies, Custom Auto Trim today. We worked out. We didn't do leg day yesterday because of the storm, because he was very compassionate, wanted to make sure all his clients were safe, which is a good thing. But he brought it today at 5 a.m. Let me just say, I may have to be sitting here for a while. But anyway, I hope everybody has a great Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. Please, if you're in the middle of those storms, please be safe. Watch the news and make sure you're following what your local weather report says. If you don't have to go out, please be safe. And if you don't have to go out, stay in the house. And if you do, please be safe. Hope everybody has a great weekend. I love y'all. And again, thank you for your continued support. Have a great day. Bye-bye.